So, what I'd like to do for today is, in the first segment, real quickly share with you with some national polling about housing, the importance of it, and in terms of voter attitude and sentiments. Then I'm going to talk about Zillow's latest price drop information nationally for cities that have population over 100,000 and compare it to Glendale, Burbank, and Pasadena. And of course, the third and the last segment will be about the elections, why it is so important for you all to get tuned in. This is the time to do it if you are interested. We have talked numerous times that nationally it is important that we have seen all kinds of polls. One of the latest polls was by the Bipartisan Policy Center, stating about 89% of the respondents wanted to federal government to pass legislation to bring the housing costs lower and increase the supply. About 70% want the institutional owners not to own any more than 350 properties at a time. And all of these results signal the importance of and the priority of housing for the voters. Interestingly, 65% have said that they want federal government to incentivize local governments and state governments to be able to produce and get to that higher supply area to be able to make it affordable. Now, if you remember back in December, we had done a smart growth poll in city of Glendale. This is one of the reasons why we did it, because even our smart growth poll was saying that about 50% or close to 50% of Glendale residents thought that density is happening too quickly, and we had to go out and produce a study which your president Dro, your LGLR committee chair, and your CEO Sevak were all with me when we presented that study to the city council, that really ruffled a lot of feathers in amongst the people attending the council, but nonetheless created a lot of interest in the topic. With that, what I'd like to do is to also tell you that in the same vein, the NAR, and we've talked about this and you've seen this slide before, shows almost the same findings nationally. And these findings have been shared with your members of Congress, the Senate on national level, and what have you. And this is precisely why what NAR does, that is advocating for us on national level. Of course, CAR does that very well and astutely as far as California is concerned. Next, I saw this study by Zillow. In fact, it was in San Francisco Chronicle, posted in San Francisco Chronicle, for price drops from 2019. What has happened to the prices? And believe it or not, the highest price drop was from city of Oakland. And you can see that from 2019, it dropped by about 28%. This is condos, median price condos and homes in city of Oakland. And from 2025, it had dropped by 11.4%. This is city of Oakland. Of course, you can see a lot of other cities listed in there, but most of these have been categorized by the price drops from 2025. So what does that mean for city of Glendale, Burbank, and Pasadena? You can see that in Glendale, our price drop was over 3%, about 3.7%, though from 2019, we've been up 13.2% as opposed to Oakland's drop, and Burbank a little bit less, actually about 5% drop, in Pasadena about 4% drop. All of these, when you compare to city of Oakland's 28% drop from 2019 and 2025. So the Tri-City has fared relatively Well, I don't want to say it went unaffected. However, when you put it in perspective, you see the difference. The third and the last topic, and I hope I'm not going too quickly for you, I'm just cognizant of your time at this meeting, has to do with the elections. Obviously, we have an election coming up in Glendale, June 2nd. What we did is we wanted to show you the enthusiasm level amongst Democrats, Republicans, and independents as far as voting is concerned in state of California. You can see that for the midterms, you have 72% of the Democrats that claim to be more enthusiastic to vote as opposed to 24% that say they're not. Compare that to the Republicans. Only 38% are telling you or are telling us that they're enthusiastic about voting versus 60% not that enthusiastic. And of course, independents is pretty much split, right? Between or amongst the folks that are enthusiastic and or non-enthusiastic. One look at this number will tell you that these numbers do not bode well for the conservative candidates, regardless of the field they're in, the city they're in, or what have you. PDI, Political Data Inc., produces on daily basis the number of the ballots that have been returned by a municipality. In City of Glendale, 113,000 ballots have been mailed out, and to date, only about 2,700 ballots have been returned, right? You know, in California, everybody that is registered voter gets a ballot. Right now, in City of Glendale, 2,700 people have returned their ballots. You can see on the right-hand side of your screen, of course, you can't see the numbers, but if anybody is interested to see on precinct level, on their address, how many people have voted in their neck of the woods, I'll be happy to provide that for you later on. So there is another 111,000 ballots left. Now, traditionally speaking, midterm elections, which is what we are in today, have a lower rate of ballot returns and or voters participating. But having said that, right now, City of Glendale sits at about 2%, right? Now, here is how many ballots have been sent out to Democrats because of the registration advantage that they have, about 46,000, Republicans 28,000, and independents about 39,000. You can see that Democrats about 1,000 have returned, Republicans about 765, and independents about 876. That's what makes the 2,000 plus number that I shared with you in the past slide. Now, why is this important? Because, as I said, we have the election coming up, and the ideology, I wanted to break this down for you so you're very, very clear on the direction that this city is headed. The ideology in City of Glendale, based on the ballot measures that have been in the past have been voted on, it's a progressive ideology. Let me show you what I mean by that. When it comes to tax-related measures, you see we tilt to the left. Bond measures, we tilt further to the left. Social issues, the same as bond measures, tilting to the left. And of course, criminal justice, the same thing. However, this is the most important part, the rent control. This is why you can see how it's skewed it is and how left that goes. This is precisely why we are very, very sensitive to issues that may affect rent control, that's a big part of our advocacy and what have you. And so, yes, we are a progressive city, and yes, rent control, when according to the measures, ballot measures passed in the past, is really tilted to the left. Now, this is why we did what we did with our interviews that are recorded, that are documented, and one of the main questions were about rent control amongst the candidates. Glendale Association is amongst one of the first organizations that did all 12 candidates, interviews with all 12 candidates, recorded it, and made it public, by the way. So anybody from City of Glendale or around the world can access this database on our website and understand why we supported, whom we supported, and why your board of directors made a decision why they did. And this is to remind you, and for you to also remind your family, your friends, your clients, that June 2nd election is upcoming, and it is important to have your voice heard, not only as a realtor family, but as well as individuals that care deeply, which I know all of you do, about City of Glendale. President Dro, that concludes my presentation, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that anybody may have.